I am making this video because of the loss of an innocent life, a child's life at that, who never got their democratic right to be born because of the opinions of their own mother. A woman in England decided to have an abortion. Now, I'm not against abortion for if a woman's been raped or she's got a disabled fetus, then and she can't give the child's got no prospect of a good life or a survivable life, then I'm not against abortion. But this woman decided to have an abortion because she thought the world was so terrible that she needed to have an abortion, and not only that, to sterilise herself and ask for her partner to be sterilised. She did this to reduce her carbon footprint. This was the Mark Steyn Fox News story. Check it out on YouTube. If you look into wider reading, you will find out the last part of what I said was true, as well as the first two parts. Now, this is an extreme example of somebody who is involved in what I would call an extinctionist post-human ideology of extinctionism to save the world's resources in the long run. But as this all stems from Thomas Malthus's Malthusian's argument about the need to create wars, to create plagues, to create ideologies that would reduce the population, and that wars could be sparked off for not for the reasons of national interest or to save people's lives from terrorism or any of these other things, because he was talking about things in many centuries ago, just simply to reduce the world population. But this has been proven to be false by rational economics. Rational economics being part of the Western world and Western civilization. And although this woman's choice of view may be put down to perhaps insanity or other things, and maybe in a ruthless way, if you take the eugenicist argument, she was taking away the choice of the child who might have been as equally insane, and that insanity is passed on from one generation to the other sometimes, in rare cases. But this child never had its democratic right. It never had its a choice or its right to develop opinions different from its own parents. They enforced that on him or her while they were still in the womb. So that is an extreme example. But it's about a wider lack of will and youth and vigour in Western civilization, which I find deeply disturbing. Why do I find it deeply disturbing? Because although I didn't do a scientific research or opinion poll on this particular case, I did ask two people what they believed about it, and one person said that they took the Malthusian argument and said that she did the right thing. This to me is perverse, extremely perverse, that people are choosing not to have children because they think the world is so terrible. Why do they think the world is so terrible? Well, it comes from an illogical viewpoint to me, because they say, well, we have immigration, mass immigration, the world will be too terrible for our children to live in, so we won't have children. I mean, having children is a personal right or choice, you know, but when it comes down to it, the lights are going out all over Europe. As I said before, the lights are going out all over Europe. Why? Because of multiculturalism. Because we're bringing in immigrants who do not believe in the same things that we believe in. They do not believe that in making themselves extinct because of their own self-loathing. They will simply fill our space and our labour markets and fill up everything that we give up. That's why we're going to go extinct in the Western world if something radical does not happen. If there is not a reversal of the trends which are going on at the moment, and that we do not regain the vigour and youth and willpower that we once had. You know, I'm not talking about the willpower of the U.S. Marines in the Pacific or the British Army in Burma, crushing an alien force in the shape of at the time the Japanese Empire, which was completely anti-Western civilization at the time. Now Japan is part of the Western world. I'm not talking about that kind of thing, but I'm talking about self-belief. I'm talking about confidence in our own civilization. You know? If we haven't got, let me put it frankly, the balls to fuck, right? Then there will not be any more European children in maternity wards being born. If we are so cowardly that we've already decided to turn off all the lights off of over Europe and all the lights all over America and the rest of the Western world, what point is there? That is the logical conclusion and the reason why these things I've called these cults of multiculturalism, who say, so what if everyone in Europe becomes a foreigner? Well, where do all the rest of the people, all the people who've contributed to the culture of Milan, to Malmo in Sweden, to London, to Bilbao, to Lisbon, and everyone else in Europe, where are they to go? Are we to simply fade out of history in a whimper? We fought the Second World War not to be told and controlled by a totalitarian force in either the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany about how we should lead our lives. But yet we've self-regulated ourselves. We've self-regulated ourselves into an iceberg, as Thilo Sarrazin said, a man from the left, a social democrat, who said that this demographic sinkhole is now affecting the labour market and it's coming as steady as an iceberg with that momentum. There are 16 million people in Germany who are of non-German descent. There are millions of people in Britain and England of non-English descent. You know? The time is running out for us in the Western world. I've spoken in many videos about the hyperpower status of the EU and of the United States. Now the world could be a European world by 2050. But if we do not have self-confidence, if we take on board the ideas of Thatcherism, of multiculturalism, of extreme post-humanist, extinctionist viewpoints, then there is little hope for us. We must have clear, rational goals to have a social democracy, yes, but also, you know, we've got to have bigger families, and we've got to have policies that encourage bigger families, as they have been doing in Sweden for the past 12 years. But is it too late? I myself am from a big family, but that's as far as I'm going to talk about my personal life. What we do and our choices decide how our genes are going to be passed on. Obviously, that woman will not have her genes passed on to the next generation. She self-destructed herself, but it wasn't enough for her to just do that. And there have been other cases where women have done this and then have gone and tried to get their husbands to be sterilised as well. It's something to do with perhaps the most extreme form of feminism, which I would be against, and many women are against as well. But as I said in my comments page, I'm against the mocking of women. Julius Malema called a journalist who was female a T-girl, you know. I'm against the mocking of women. There has to be, as I say conclusively, a change in our opinions. We have to have the will and have the forceful personalities and pressure on people, in some cases economically and socially, to have bigger families.